Good morning. This is a vibrant and busy time at First Unitarian Universalist Church of Austin. So before we formally begin our worship service, we invite you to lend your attention to a few brief announcements that will let you know some ways to get involved in the life of the church. Today and for many years, our UU youth have been fortunate to enjoy summer camps with UU youth from around the country. Here in Texas, U Camp and Retreat Center is just a short drive away in the hill country near Kerrville. For our 3 weeks in June, 1 week camps will gather for primary camp, that's grades 4 through 6, intermediate, grades 7 through 9, and senior camp for grades 10 through 12. We plan to offer camp activities from camp swimming, archery, community service, walking the labyrinth, camp meetings, games, crafts, worship, and activities led by the UU camp chaplain. We will spend lots of time having fun while deepening our faith. We've even heard First UU may have set aside some funds to help with tuition. Check out the details and register online at ubaru.org. Many of us think of COVID as something from the past, but it is very much still with us. One of our church members, Adele Lossberg, was diagnosed with a mild case of COVID at St. David's Hospital this past week. Both Adele and Sam Duckworth were fully vaccinated, and the doctor's theory is that is why the disease was not severe to her. We wish other church members to be aware, take precautions, and self-test. Best regards, Sam and Adele. We are kicking off another round of circle dinners, which are a great way to connect socially with a small group of people. Groups of 6 to 9 people will meet for 3 to 4 potluck meals in each other's homes. For more information, see the Friday email newsletter, or you can see me after the service. The last day to sign up is March 31. First UU has partnered with First UU Syracuse for Beyond the Binary on Saturday, April 26th. A fun event celebrating and supporting our trans and non-binary friends. All are invited. First UU has covered all the costs, so it's free, and we're even providing lunch. Always a great draw. Pick up a flyer at the visitor table and join us. Today we are honored to have musical guests. Thor and Friends join us for our service. At First UU Austin, we are not only proud to support local artists, we believe in doing so while they're still alive. Merchandise will be available after today's service, so please be sure to go check out their table. Each Sunday, one of our caring companions is designated to be available at the front of the sanctuary after the service to listen to any immediate pastoral needs and assist you with connecting to additional pastoral support if you would like. Today's caring companion is Linda West. Linda, would you please stand and so that we can thank you and folks can identify you after the service. On each Sunday, we light candles in the sanctuary along the windows to mark sacred moments in our lives. You are invited to light candles at any time before or during the service when you feel moved to do so. Please note that we do not have a separate time set aside for candle lighting during today's service. Now, let all who have gathered in beloved community, whether in virtual space or in person, join our spirits in worship together.
Thank you. That was amazing. And I got to sit right in the middle of it. I love it. Good morning. Whether you are joining us online or here in the sanctuary, welcome to First Unitarian Universalist Church of Austin, Texas. We are a spiritual community dedicated to a free and responsible search for truth, meaning, and beauty. I am the Reverend Michelle LaGrave, your co-lead interim minister for a couple of more months. I am a kind of short, middle-aged white woman with short, spiky-ish hair and glasses, wearing a all black with a red stole full of flames. My pronouns are she, her. It is a joy to be with all of you today and to be with Thor and Friends. I especially want to welcome you if you are visiting with us today. If you are joining us remotely, and if you can, please say hello in the comments and introduce yourself. If you're here in person, please join us for social hour after the worship service. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, wherever you find yourself on your life's journey, whichever your pronouns, whether you've walked in or rolled in or dialed in, whomever you love, you are welcome here. You belong here. We come from a long tradition of seeing a spark of the divine in every person. It is in this tradition, this living tradition, that I invite you to greet the holy among us, either in the comments or by turning to those around you.
Good morning. I'm Margaret Borden. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a white woman in my 70s with short, salt and pepper hair, glasses, wearing a white dress. Please join me now in the words by which we light our chalice. This is a flame we hold in our hearts as we strive for justice for everyone. This is the light we shine from of oppression until they are no more. This is the warmth we share with one another as our struggle becomes our salvation.
I'm going to need a little help with our call to worship this morning. This is your part. Take off your shoes. All right, so everybody repeat after me. Take off your shoes. Thank you. So when I go like this, that's your turn, okay? All right. My bare feet walk the earth reverently, for everything keeps crying. Take off your shoes. The ground you stand on is holy. The ground of your being is holy. When the wind sings through the pines like a breath of God, awakening you to the sacred present, take off your shoes. When the sun rises, coloring your world with dawn, put on your garment of adoration. Take off your shoes. When the red maple drops its last leaf of summer, wearing its burning bush robes no longer, read between its barren bushes and take off your shoes. When a new person comes into your life like a mystery about to unfold, and you find yourself marveling over the frailty and splendor of every human being, take off your shoes. When during the wee hours of the night, you drive slowly into the new day, and the morning's fog, like angel wings, hovers mysteriously above you. Take off your shoes. Take off your shoes of distraction. Take off your shoes of ignorance and blindness. Take off your shoes of hurry and worry. Take off anything that prevents you from being a child of wonder. Take off your shoes. The ground you stand or sit or walk or roll on is holy. Now let us rise either in body or spirit and join in singing our opening hymn, just 2 verses, 1 and 3, Immortal Invisible, number 273, and also on the screen.
One of the things that binds First UU together as a religious community is that the congregation has a common purpose. For First Unitarian Universalist Church of Austin, that common purpose is the mission. The congregation wrote it together and put it on the wall in the sanctuary. Every Sunday, church participants say it together so that we may more readily carry it with us in our hearts throughout the week. Let us say it together now. Together, we nourish souls, transform lives, and do justice to build the beloved community.
Now is the time in our service for our time for all ages. So those of you who are either young or young at heart, or just like to be up nice and close when we tell stories, whatever, come on up. And I'll have you gather around me right here on the stairs and on the floor. Who wants to come join me? Come on up. Come on up, everybody. Whoever's ready for a story. So wherever you want, you could sit up a little bit here or on the stairs or right on the floor, wherever you can find a spot. All right. Okay. Yay. So I'm going to tell you a story today that is really, really old. People have been telling this story for more than 2,000 years. And eventually it got written down in both the Jewish Bible, also known as the Hebrew Scriptures, or the Torah, and the Christian Bible in what is called the Old Testament. It's a story about someone called Moses. Have you all heard of Moses before? Some of you maybe? Okay. We're going to learn a little bit about Moses today. So Moses was living with his wife and his father-in-law in an area near Mount Horeb, and he was taking care of his father-in-law's sheep. His father-in-law was the priest of Midian, and he was taking care of the sheep, which means that he was sort of following them around and make sure that nothing bad happened to the sheep. He was acting as a shepherd. So he was wandering around in the wilderness with his father-in-law's sheep, and then for whatever reason, he decided to take a little detour and head up on Mount Horeb with all the sheep, and that was a mountain that was known as the Mountain of God. And while he was walking on the mountain, all of a sudden he saw a bush that looked like it was on fire. But even though it looked like it was on fire, the bush wasn't burning up. All the leaves were still green. Pretty weird, huh? So Moses said to himself, I must turn aside and go over and look at this bush that is burning but not burning up. And you know what he saw when he looked at the bush? It wasn't really on fire. There was an angel in the bush. And it wasn't one of those angels that we think of today with a white gown and white wings and a golden halo. It was an angel that looked like it was on fire. It was so bright, it was hard to look at the angel. And then, as if that weren't enough, all of a sudden, Moses heard the voice of God. And God said, Moses, Moses. And Moses said, here I am. And then God said, come no closer. Remove the sandals from your feet, because the place you are standing on is holy ground. So Moses took off his sandals, just like I'm going to. I'm really taking them off. For real, for the rest of the service, because this is holy ground today. And God said, I am God, the God of your father, the God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. And he had to tell him which God he was, because back then they believed that different people had different gods. So he had to identify himself. And Moses got afraid and hid his face, because back then people thought that if you looked at God, you might die. So Moses was really afraid. God is talking to him. This bush is not really on fire. He's hiding his face. He's got his sandals off. And what do you think might happen next? Probably. No, he doesn't know. No. Probably something important. I mean, that's a pretty big setup, right? So, God then said, I have seen the misery of my people who are slaves in Egypt, and I am going to send you, Moses, to free them from slavery. And Moses said, what if they don't believe me? What if they don't think that I'm really coming from you? I don't even know who you are. What do I tell them? What is your name? And God said, I am who I am, which sounds a little interesting in English. In Hebrew, what they wrote down is the 4 letters, the 4 consonants of God's name, which are Yod, He, Vav, He, and which sounds kind of like Y, V, H, V in English. But you know what they didn't write down? The vowels. So nobody really knows how to say it anyway. So now we just call God God. But he said, I am who I am. Tell those people, my people down in Egypt who are in slavery, I am has sent me to you. This is my name forever and my title for all generations. And the reason this is important today is 2 things. We're talking about holy ground through the whole rest of the service, but also, do you remember a couple of weeks ago we had a child dedication? We dedicated Gino and who's making a grand exit at the moment. Stage left. And in a couple of weeks, Easter and Passover are coming up. And so we're going to have the baby parade that we always have on Easter. But before that, we're going to have another child dedication for, I don't know, at least 3 more kids. I'm not sure how many yet. Do you remember what we did at the beginning of the child dedication, those of you who are here? Before we made the promises to the children, before we told them that we would look out for them and take care of them and help them learn and grow, the first thing we did, does anyone remember? Adults too? We said the child's name. We asked the parents, what is the name of your child? And they gave us the child's full name. So naming is very important. When Moses learned the name of God, God told him he was standing on holy ground. And when we learn your names, when you are dedicated and then we make promises to you, we are also on holy ground. It's a really special and sacred moment in the time of your life. And you are going to get dedicated in a couple of weeks. We're going to have a rose that we give you with water on it. And we're going to promise to take care of you all the way until you're grown up. And then you're going to help take care of the kids who come next. All of you do. All of you will. Right? Maybe. We're having some debate about that at the moment. So thank you for being here and listening to my first story about holy ground. And we are going to sing you out to the playground. Now, those of you who want to go to play on the playground, the rest of you can stay in the service, whatever you would like.
I will be reading the second story by Stephen Huller. The second story is told by Stephen Huller and originates from the time he spent traveling in India and learning about Hinduism. A damp chill pervades the air as Amita wends her way down the dark street to the river. For warmth, she pulls her sari about her head and adjusts her light wool shawl more tightly around her shoulders. Then she reaches down with both hands to pull her 2 young children along with her. They stumble sleepily as she guides them through the narrow passageways. Just above the river, she stops quickly to buy a small lamp made of a curled dry leaf. In its center, a daub of clarified butter holds a wick. The 3 sidle through the huddled bodies of unidentifiable figures and down the ancient stone steps that run as far as they can see along the river's edge. Steps grooved through centuries of use. And then the black expanse of the river fills their gaze, and they slip off their sandals and walk down the last steps into the icy cold water. The children are reluctant, their teeth chattering. Their mother is determined, intent on fulfilling this ritual which begins each day of her life. They wash their bodies and their clothes with soap. All the while, the sky has been lightening. Across the river, the promise of sunrise turns the water from deep purple to rich blues tinged with orange. The shivering 3 steps again into the water, which now seems warm compared to the biting air. Amita is immersed to her knees, Minu and Bablu to their waists. Together, they sing prayers to the goddess Ganga, who is also the river. They visualize her magnificence, her nurturing presence as the purifier and mother of all existence. With a match, Minu lights the small leaf lamp and gently floats it out before them. At that moment, the sun's first rays peek above the sandy horizon, and they begin singing to the sun god, Surai, the source of all energy, the great provider.
This is the time during the service when we commit to the mission and ministries of this church by making an offering. We give out of our own so that together we might build a better world. If you are visiting with us today, please allow the plate to pass. You are our guests. You can give in a few different ways by going to austinuu.org and clicking on the link at the top right side of the page, or by texting your contributions to 84321, or by placing an offering in the basket the ushers are about to pass. Here in the sanctuary, the ushers will now collect our offering.
If any kids at the end of the service and adults want to come play marimba,
Your offerings have been given in love, and your offerings have been received with gratitude.
This story is especially for all the vegetarians and vegans in the crowd. There once was a cow named Emily, a very frightened cow, who found herself in a slaughterhouse. She was next in line when all of a sudden the lunch whistle blew and the workers took a break. Well, Emily saw her chance and made her own break for it, leaping in a very uncow-like manner right over a 5-foot-high fence and heading for the woods. When she got to the woods, she ran with a herd of deer, all the while eluding capture by both slaughterhouse workers and the local police. Meanwhile, and unbeknownst to Emily, Emily's escape made headlines. People everywhere heard Emily's story and fell in love with the cow who had rescued herself from imminent death. In the midst of all this hubbub, a group of people came together to try to rescue Emily, and after some negotiation, she was purchased for $1. Later, when Emily's saviors pulled up to the edge of the woods with their truck, and after having wandered in the wilderness for 40 days, Emily was ready for her ordeal to end. Encouraged with some buckets of grain, Emily walked up the ramp and was brought to her new home on the grounds of the Peace Abbey in a town called Sherburne in Massachusetts. Emily lived for several more years and was credited by many as a teacher of love and compassion and a source of inspiration for change and growth. When Emily eventually died, she was buried on the grounds of the Peace Abbey, not far from a statue of Gandhi. Her grave is now marked by a bronze, life-sized statue, and clippings from her hair and a sacred thread from her ear have been released in the Ganges River. People still make pilgrimages to visit her grave. Now let us join together in a time of meditation. It is summer, and I am spending the week at Ferry Beach, one of our UU camp and conference centers located on the coast of Maine. I awake to a beautiful, bright, sunny, and warm day and head to the beach as soon as I am dressed. I cross the boardwalk, slip out of my flip-flops, and quickly head down to the water's edge. There I stand with my feet buried in the sand and the waves lapping at my legs. This is my favorite place to meditate and pray, while standing and gazing out over the vast expanse of the ocean. This morning, though, the sun is exceptionally bright, and since it is early, low on the water. The sun and the sun's reflection on the water are so bright that I cannot see the ocean before me. When I try, my eyes hurt and water, and I am forced to lower my head so that I see only my toes and the water surrounding me. In this posture, I remain for a long time, recognizing the humility inherent in the pose, sensing its foreignness to both myself and my culture. And I wonder, here I am, standing before the sun and the ocean, feeling the immense power of both, forced into an attitude of deference and humility which I cannot choose to overcome, short of turning and walking away. And I wonder, is this how Moses would have felt, barefoot and face hidden, standing before God? And I wonder, is this how Amita feels every morning of her life as she stands in the sacred waters of the river, bending to light and release her lamp? And I feel connected to those who have gone before me and will come after me, to those who also experience awe and wonder and humility. Eventually, I turn and slowly climb up the beach, replace my sandals, wash my feet, and return to my daily study of routine and learning. I return to the beach often. For me, these visits are a reenactment of my own sacred creation story. As I take off my shoes and move lightly and quickly down to the water's edge, I return to the primordial waters, to the murky origins of myself and my species. As I play and swim, I remember my origins, back when my kind were still fish in the sea. When I finally emerge from the water and climb back up the beach, I wonder at the struggle it always is to leave the water behind. And I imagine how difficult those first evolutionary transitions, those first climbs up onto the beach must have been. And I feel awe at those first changes from fish to amphibian. I think then that I understand the dolphin, a mammal who once on land chose to return to the sea. I understand, for I too feel these urges, for I too feel the call of the deep, and I know the power of this holy ground.
stood upon the shore. I gazed upon infinity. I heard the waters roar.
In all of these stories, there is a common experience of standing or walking on holy ground. For Moses, it is at Mount Horeb. For Amida, in the river Ganges. For Emily, and later her pilgrims, on the grounds of the Peace Abbey. For myself, at the ocean's edge. At various times and in various ways, we all visit holy ground. In doing so, some of us take off our shoes. Some of us come face to face with God. Some of us commune with the cosmos. Some of us come face to face with our own salvation. I imagine there are many, many other stories about holy ground which I could tell. People of many faiths walk labyrinths. Pagans cast circles. Hindus draw sacred diagrams called kolams near the entryways of their homes. Surgeons place special covers over their shoes before entering operating rooms. Walking, standing, rolling, or simply being on holy ground is a common human experience, one that many of us share. When we visit holy ground, we experience awe and wonder. We ponder the great mysteries of life. We feel the force of evolution. We sense the power which emerges from our collective humanity. The power of change and growth, of inspiration and creativity, and of love. We need not embark on a pilgrimage to far-off lands to visit holy grounds. Holy ground is available to us at all times and in all places. Holy ground is here, in this sanctuary, out there in the art gallery, around the corner in Housen Hall where we visit with each other after the service, down that hallway there where the children meet for classes and staff work to fulfill the mission of this congregation, out on the playgrounds and in the youth room, in your homes and in so many, many places. It is we who must set an intention to understand the ground we happen upon is holy. It is we who must pay attention. An experience of the sacred, of the holy, is available to us at any time, anywhere. When I received my call to ministry, I was not at a pilgrimage to a sacred site or standing at the ocean's edge. I was sitting at my dining room table reading a magazine. Moving to an understanding of the ground we find ourselves upon as sacred or holy ground can feel risky, and it's not a journey to be undertaken lightly. When we visit holy ground, we confront the nature of life and death. We gain insight. We become self-aware. We come face to face with those parts of ourselves and others we had not previously known. We realize our human nature. We may even come to know God. Where is your holy ground? Where do you take off your shoes? When do you bow your head? As Unitarian Universalists, it is our religious duty to follow the paths each of us finds sacred to ourselves. These paths are incredibly diverse, take many forms, and lead in many directions. They are all holy. As together we navigate the triumphs and tribulations of this great mystery we call human life. We are blessed to be able to join together in this community of faith, which honors such divergent understandings of the human, of the divine, of the holy. May we be so blessed evermore. Amen, and blessed be.
And now please rise in body or spirit for hymn number 1064, Blue Boat Home in the Teal Hymnal.
Go below me, I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean. Still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
Please join me now in the words by which we extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we hold in our hearts until we are together again.
Open your eyes, your ears, your hearts, your minds, your spirits. The ground you sit, stand, walk, roll, dance, crawl upon is holy. As you leave this place, remember you are blessed. The holy, the sacred is available to you at all times and in all places. Go forth, blessing all others as you yourselves are now blessed. Amen, and blessed be.